Year 3147. The human colony ship. Endeavour had been drifting for 3 months after its navigation systems failed. Captain Elias Ward had hoped to find a safe world to land on, a place where the 200 souls aboard could start again. Instead, the ship screamed through the atmosphere of a nightmare. The planet appeared on no human charts, but the ship's database found a match in alien records. Vera. The translation was simple and chilling. The planet that kills. Alien archives claimed no life form had survived more than 30 days. Here, every species that set foot on its surface had vanished. The crash was violent. Metal screamed, bulkheads split, and the Endeavour tore a gash across a black plain before coming to rest. Gravity was nearly twice that of Earth. Every breath was heavy, every step slow. Outside, storms gathered instantly, lightning crackling in spirals across the dark sky. Elias stood on the shattered bridge, staring out at the alien wilderness. The air was breathable, but the planet itself seemed to push back against life. Heat in the day so strong it felt like the air burned your lungs. Cold at night, sharp enough to freeze exposed skin in minutes. He opened his log recorder, his voice low but steady. This planet kills everything that breathes. If we don't adapt, we die. The crew began salvaging what they could from the wreck. They had no way to launch back into space. The ship's. The reactor was split, its drive core buried in the impact crater. All comms were fried. There would be no rescue. By late evening, they had set up a temporary camp just outside the wreck, shielded by jagged pieces of hull plating. A fire crackled, weakly against the wind. People whispered nervously, their eyes always drifting toward the dark jungle in the distance. When night came, it came fast. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, and the temperature dropped 30 degrees in under an hour. The wind howled like a living thing. The jungle came alive, low growls, clicking sounds, the snap of heavy branches. Elias walked the camp. Perimeter was Sergeant Kellen, the security chief. "We keep a double watch tonight," Elias said. "No one leaves the firelight. But fear makes people foolish." By morning, 3 crew were gone. Had been on the outer edge of the camp when they vanished. The only sign of them was blood. 3 separate trails leading into the jungle. There were no footprints from whatever had taken them, just long drag marks in the dirt. The crew was terrified. Some wanted to take their chances walking away from the wreck, hoping to find another safer area. Others wanted to dig into the ground and hide. Elias listened, then spoke loudly so all could hear. "Running will get us killed faster. Hiding will starve us. This planet wants to break us, but we're not going to give it the chance. We don't just survive, we build." He pointed toward a rocky ridge not far from the wreck. It was high ground, defensible, with a view over the plains. "Up there we make a wall. We build roofs that can take the storms. We make a city. A fortress." Some stared at him like he was mad. "Ah!" The storms here could rip trees out by the roots. The predators could drag off 3 armed people without being seen. The ground shook sometimes, as if the planet itself had a heartbeat. But Elias knew the truth. If they didn't commit to building now, fear would scatter them, and they would be picked off one by one. That night, as lightning tore across the sky, he stood watch at the edge of the camp. In the distance, just beyond the tree line, something moved. Tall, thin shapes with eyes like molten gold. They watched, unblinking. Then, as quickly as they appeared, they were gone. Elias didn't sleep, kept replaying one thought in his head. If this planet kills everything, then we will be the first to teach it fear. It's the first city on Vera would rise. Or they would all die building it, building in the shadow of death the next morning. The survivors of the crash stood in a half-circle around Captain Elias Ward. The air was heavy, every breath like lifting a weight. Their eyes were tired, but fear kept them awake. "We are not leaving," Elias said, voice firm. "This is our home now. If we don't make it strong, we won't make it at all." No one argued. They'd all seen the blood trails from the night before. The jungle had swallowed their friends, leaving nothing but silence. Lieutenant Mara Kelso, the ship's engineer, spread a map on a flat rock. "We build here," she said, pointing to a ridge overlooking a river. "High ground, good view, easier to defend." The others nodded, but Elias was already scanning. The tree line. He could feel it, eyes watching. By midday, they began hauling metal plates from the wreckage. The Endeavor was broken, but its bones were strong. They cut them into walls, setting them into the ground. Each clang of metal echoed through the forest like a warning to the predators. The storms came quickly. By afternoon, black clouds boiled over the horizon, and the wind roared like a living thing. The rain was not normal. It was hot, almost boiling, and it stung when it hit skin. The crew scrambled to cover the supplies, but some food stores were ruined. Night fell again. They worked in shifts, guarding the half-built walls with scavenged rifles. The jungle made strange noises, low growls, clicking sounds, and something that almost sounded like whispering. Elias paced the perimeter, scanning the darkness. At midnight, a shadow moved at the edge of the light. "Contact," the guard shouted. The sound of gunfire tore through the night. Shapes moved fast, too fast. Something leaped over the wall section they had not finished yet. It landed in the middle of camp, a blur of claws and teeth. Elias fired 3 rounds. The creature screeched, then collapsed, twitching. Its skin was black and slick, like wet stone, and its eyes glowed faintly blue. When they examined it, Mara's voice was tight. "Thing's muscles are denser than anything I've seen. It's built for this gravity. We're prey here." No one slept after that. They worked until dawn, every hammer strike fueled by the knowledge that stopping meant dying.
Ow.
On the 3rd day, they found something that changed everything. Private Jonas stumbled back from the river, pale as ash. "Captain, need to see this?" They followed him through thick vines until they reached a clearing. There, built into the side of a cliff, were ruins, tall walls, broken gates, and carvings in a language no one recognized. "This isn't the first city here," Elias said slowly. "Someone else tried to live, failed." They searched the ruins and found bones not human, not alien they knew. Long twisted skeletons lay scattered, as if the city had been overrun. But in one chamber, deep underground, they found something else. A massive door made of a strange black alloy still sealed. Mara touched it, frowning. "This is older than anything I've ever seen, and it's still powered." The others looked to Elias. He didn't answer right away. Mind was torn between curiosity and survival. He knew one thing. If there was technology here that could protect them, they needed it. "We open it," he finally said. "But not yet. First we finish the walls." They returned to camp and worked without rest. Storms, the predators, the crushing air, all of it tried to break them. By the end of the week, the first real defenses were in place. A ring of metal walls, watchtowers built from wreckage, and trenches around the perimeter. It was still not enough. The predators were learning. Each night they tested the walls, slamming into them, clawing at the metal. The ground trembled with their weight. On the 7th night, the largest storm yet hit. Lightning split the sky in white flashes, and the wind ripped at the walls. Through the blinding rain, Elias saw shapes gathering at the tree line. "They're coming!" Mara shouted. Dozens of glowing eyes appeared in the dark. The predators moved together this time, coordinated. The crew opened fire, but the creatures didn't stop. One leaped onto a watchtower, tearing it down. Another slammed against the gate, denting the metal. Elias knew they couldn't hold forever. In the chaos, his mind went back to the sealed door in the ruins. Whatever was behind it. They might need it sooner than he thought. And if the bones in that old city were a warning, then unlocking it might also doom them all. The morning after the storm was quiet but heavy with tension. The crew gathered near the ruins, their eyes fixed on the massive black door sealed tight into the cliffside. Its surface was smooth and cold, almost alive with a faint hum that made the air vibrate slightly. Captain Elias Ward stood with Lieutenant Mara Kelso, staring at the door. "We don't know what's behind it," Mara said, her voice low. "It could be a weapon, a trap, or something that saves us." Elias nodded slowly. "But we can't survive much longer out here without help. It's a risk we have to take." With careful tools salvaged from the wreck, the engineers began working on the locking mechanism. Hours passed and tension grew. Everyone watched, waiting for something to happen, or for disaster to strike. When the door finally began to slide open with a low groan, a cold rush of air escaped. It smelled of metal and something ancient, like a forgotten grave. Inside was a narrow tunnel lit by strange blue lights embedded in the walls. The team gathered their weapons and stepped inside, the silence heavy around them. The tunnel led down deeper into the planet's crust. As they descended, the walls shimmered with glowing symbols that none of them understood but somehow felt important. The temperature dropped steadily. At the end of the tunnel was a large chamber, filled with technology far beyond anything the humans had ever seen. Screens lit up as they entered, showing star maps, weapon schematics, and logs in an alien language. Lieutenant Kelso walked to a console and touched the screen. Suddenly, a hologram flickered to life, a tall figure clad in armor. Speaking in a voice translated by their AI, "We are the Watchers," the hologram said. "Guardians of Vera. Any who build here challenge the balance. Any who defy us will be destroyed." The crew exchanged nervous glances. Elias stepped forward. "We don't want to fight. We only want to survive." The hologram's eyes glowed. "Red. Survival comes at a price. You have awakened the planet's defenses. Prepare to pay." Before they could react, the chamber trembled. Outside, the jungle erupted with movement.
Ow.
The predators were advancing, but now they were joined by strange machines, tall spider-like drones scanning the area. Back at the camp, the crew scrambled to ready defenses. The walls shook under the first blast of the new attackers' weapons. Energy beams that melted metal. Elias made a quick decision. "We need to use their own technology against them. Mara, can you access the Watcher systems?" Mara worked furiously on the console, navigating alien code. Suddenly, she found a control panel for planetary defense systems. "I can trigger an EMP pulse, but it will drain all power. We'll be blind and vulnerable for a while. We don't have a choice," Elias said. "Do it." The pulse surged through the planet's atmosphere, knocking out the enemy machines. The predators faltered, confused without their guides. The humans seized the moment, firing back with everything they had, but the cost was high. The pulse also shut down the Endeavor's remaining systems and damaged their communications. Elias looked at the battle-scarred faces around him. This planet is alive, and it's fighting back harder than we imagined. Still, inside the ruins, the hologram flickered once more, its final words echoing in the chamber. "Humans are not welcome here, but you are not so icily broken." The crew knew their fight had only just begun. Secrets beneath the surface the morning after the battle, the air was thick with smoke and silence. The humans stood among the ruins, battered but alive. Their fortress walls had held for now, but the threat was far from over. Captain Elias Ward stared at the scorched jungle beyond the walls. The creatures and machines had retreated, but he knew they would return. The Watchers were relentless. Lieutenant Mara Kelso was already hard at work. She had spent the night studying the alien technology inside the ruins. She called Elias over, her eyes bright with discovery. "There's more than just defense systems here," she said, showing him a holographic map of the planet's underground tunnels and chambers. These Watchers once controlled Vera completely. They could manipulate the weather, the wildlife, even the planet's gravity. Elias frowned. "So, the storms, the predators? They're not natural?" "Exactly. The planet is a weapon," Mara said. "And the Watchers built it to stop anyone from settling here." That revelation sent a chill through the crew. They weren't just fighting for survival against nature. They were fighting a war against a godlike power. But the map held hope too. A large chamber deep beneath the surface was marked with an unfamiliar symbol. Mara believed it was a power source, something they could use. Elias made a decision. "We need to reach that chamber. If we control the power, maybe we can turn this planet's weapons against the Watchers." A small team prepared to descend into the dark tunnels, their weapons ready. The path was dangerous. The air grew thinner, and strange sounds echoed in the deep. Halfway through, they found signs of the Watchers' ancient traps designed to protect their secrets. Mechanical spikes shot from the walls and floors gave way to deep pits. Only quick thinking and teamwork kept the team alive. Last, they reached the power chamber. Inside was a massive crystal, glowing with an eerie blue light. Its energy pulsed through cables and conduits that ran like veins into the planet. Mara reached out to touch the crystal. The room hummed, and the walls lit up with alien symbols. Suddenly a voice echoed, cold and distant. "You have entered the heart of Vera. To control its power, you must prove your worth." The crystal flared and the chamber shook. Outside, the skies darkened. The storms grew fierce, as if the planet itself was warning them. Elias and the team knew they faced a test not just of strength, but of will. Would they survive the planet's challenge? Could humans tame the power of a world built to destroy? The future of the city and all who lived in it hung in the balance. The power chamber fell silent after the crystal's fierce glow faded. Captain Elias Ward and the team stood in tense silence, their hearts pounding in the heavy air. The voice that had spoken was gone, but its warning lingered like a shadow. Suddenly, the chamber's floor shifted, revealing a narrow path leading deeper underground. The walls closed in, and the only way forward was through the unknown. "We have no choice," Elias said. "If we want to survive, we must face whatever test this planet has prepared for us." The team moved carefully, weapons raised. The deeper they went, the more the planet's strange power played tricks on their minds. Whispers echoed in the dark, visions flickered at the edge of their sight. Some crew members faltered, frozen by unseen fears. Lieutenant Mara Kelso kept the group together, her steady voice a beacon in the chaos. "Focus on the mission," she urged. "Remember why we're here." At the end of the path, they entered a vast chamber filled with ancient machinery. Holographic images flickered to life, showing scenes from the planet's distant past. They saw the Watchers, a proud, advanced race, and the horrors that had consumed them. Their arrogance had brought destruction upon themselves. Then, the chamber shifted into a new test. One by one, the crew faced visions of their deepest fears and regrets, moments of failure, loss, and doubt. Elias found himself reliving the crash, hearing the screams of his lost friends. Mara faced the memory of her father, a scientist who had warned about the dangers of space colonization, but was ignored. The test was merciless. Some crew members broke under the weight of their memories, retreating into silence or despair. But Elias pushed forward, fighting his own guilt and pain. At the chamber's center, the crystal awaited, glowing brighter than ever. It pulsed with energy, as if responding to their strength. With a final effort, Elias reached out and touched the crystal. A surge of light filled the room, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. The planet's challenge had been met. Back on the surface, the storms calmed, the jungle quieted. For the first time, the team felt hope, but the victory was bittersweet. Several crew members had been lost to the trial, their minds broken or bodies exhausted. As Elias led the survivors back to the city, he knew the fight was far from over. The Watchers had tested their spirit, but the planet still held many. Secrets and enemies still lurked in the shadows, watching their every move. The last stand the city on Vera had changed. Storms had quieted, but the threat was far from over. The Watchers were watching, and the jungle no longer hid only wild beasts. It concealed enemies ready to strike. Captain Elias Ward stood on the highest watchtower, scanning the horizon. The battered walls of their fortress gleamed faintly under the twin suns. Survivors worked tirelessly to repair damages, but exhaustion weighed heavily on everyone. Suddenly, alarms blared. The creatures from the jungle surged forward, accompanied by mechanical drones, remnants of the Watchers' deadly defense. Gunfire echoed through the city. Predators moved with terrifying speed and coordination, pushing against the human defenses. Elias rallied his people. "Hold the line. Protect the city. Protect each other." Lieutenant Mara Kelso directed the engineers to activate the power they had claimed from the crystal. The city lights flared to life, and energy shields flickered into place along the walls. The Watchers' technology was now a weapon in human hands. The battle raged for hours. The Predators crashed against shields and walls. Drones fired. relentless beams. Humans fought with desperation and courage. Elias faced down a massive predator that had broken through a gate. With a burst of strength, he drove it back, buying time for his team, but the cost was high. The city's power. Reserves drained fast, and more attackers came. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Elias made a choice. We must take the fight to them. A small strike team, led by Mara, prepared to leave the city and destroy the Watcher's control center deep in the jungle. The source of the machines and the planet's wrath, Elias stayed behind to hold the line, knowing the future of humanity. Anvira depended on their success. The strike team moved through the jungle's darkness, facing traps, predators, and the Watcher's final defenses. With skill and grit, they reached the control center, a massive tower pulsing with alien energy. Mara hacked the systems, planting explosives while the team defended against waves of attackers. The tower exploded in a brilliant fireball, shaking the ground and silencing the machines. Back at the city, the assault faltered. The predators retreated, their connection to the Watchers severed. Elias allowed himself a rare smile. They had won the battle, but the war for Vera was only beginning.